Hello, in this video I'm going to discuss what you should do if law enforcement wants to come inside your program's building or wants information from you about a survivor. Now, if law enforcement wants to come inside because there's an emergency, such as a fire or someone is having a heart attack, then you should let the officers inside to help with the situation. In these situations, the safety of the survivors and staff inside the building should be a top priority. So you should let the officers inside. Still, you should do what you can to protect the privacy of survivors inside the building and should let them know that the officers will be entering, and if any of them are uncomfortable with that, let them stay in a secluded room or go outside until the officers have helped with the situation. Now, if law enforcement officers want to come inside your building or want information from you for something that is not an emergency, what you'll be required to do is very different. In these situations, you should follow the following steps. First, you should always tell the law enforcement officer that due to confidentiality requirements, I cannot give you any information. You should always use this response when speaking to a law enforcement officer, even if they are asking you about a survivor you have never heard of. If you told the officer, no, I have never heard of that person, when you have not heard of the survivor, but in all other situations you say, due to federal confidentiality requirements, I cannot answer that question, then the officers will implicitly know that the survivor is staying in your shelter because you answer differently when you have not heard of the survivor. So it's important that you answer consistently. Second, you should tell the officer that they may not come inside and ask them to leave and take down their contact information. Third, once the officer leaves, you should go tell the survivor who the law enforcement officer was asking about that law enforcement wants to speak with them or has a warrant for their arrest. You should then speak with the survivor about what they would like to do next and whether they would like to follow up with the officer or would like to turn themselves in. If a survivor is going to turn themselves in for arrest, you should make sure you speak to them about securing a criminal defense attorney and make sure you speak to them about taking care of their children once they give themselves up for arrest and other safety planning issues. Finally, you should always tell your supervisor when you have spoken to law enforcement to make sure that they know what is going on and can step in any situations if necessary. Now, many domestic violence advocates often are concerned about what to do if a survivor does not want to turn themselves in if there is a warrant out for their arrest and instead chooses to flee law enforcement. In this situation, you may not call law enforcement and tell them that you know where the survivor is or that the survivor has fled. You have no proactive duty to aid law enforcement in doing their job. You just are not allowed to hinder them from doing their job. So you cannot actively aid the survivor in fleeing arrest, for example, by helping them figure out where they are going to go to hide or anything like that. But you also cannot call law enforcement and help them find the survivor. In these situations, we recommend that you consult an attorney, and if your program does not have an attorney, you can call the Minnesota Coalition for Battered Women to speak about how to protect yourself and your program and make sure that you will not be charged with obstruction of justice. Also, one thing that is important to know is you should treat law enforcement officers the same, whether they are from immigration or from a local agency or a federal agency. The confidentiality requirements are the same no matter where they come from. The same goes for child protection service workers or service processors or any other government officials who come to your program and want information about a survivor. You may not give any of them information or let any of them inside, and you should follow the same Violence Against Women Act confidentiality rule, regardless of who wants information from you. Now go watch the video on minors and vulnerable adults and then complete the assignments for this week. Thanks.